Good evening, everyone, and Mike from Know Your Rights Group and Success Coaching International with another very important live video update tonight. I want to start just by very quickly shouting out and doing a very special thank you to everyone who sent through messages, emails, comments of support after Sunday night's video. I did say I wasn't going to do any more of these for a little while. I guess I was so focused on the thousands of Muppets that I see every day out there walking around with their muzzles on and masks and stuff that I guess I lost focus on all the people that are working, the thousands of people really, probably even more behind the scenes who are learning, growing, getting their head around all this information. And so thank you to all those who reminded me. A very special shout out and thank you to the lovely lady that I bumped into in the Westpac Bank, who had some very kind words, and also to Steve, who I bumped into just around the corner. And these guys, two people in one day just said, keep up the good work. So thanks for that. And look, I couldn't let tonight go past. Obviously, the news that everybody's heard is Sco Mo, our illustrious leader, has come out just the other day and said that I'm going to be making these COVID vaccines as mandatory as possible. Now, of course, he's backtracked on that and said, "Oh no, it won't be compulsory." But the challenge is a lot of people have jumped on Facebook now and gone, "Oh look, he's backtracked. He said that this is a huge victory." It's not a victory at all. Okay, it was an essential step that he had to take to avoid getting lynched. Okay, that's the only reason he backtracked, because there was absolute outrage, which is fantastic. Okay, so congratulations to all those who flooded the posts and made comments and commented on all the news articles and all the rest of it, because he had to backtrack. He had no option. But the fact remains, he could never have made them a mandatory anyway. He was never going to make them mandatory anyway. Okay, so this isn't really a big victory. All he's going to do is going to impose various sanctions that will force people to want to take these things up, okay? And that's what I'm going to cover tonight. But, there's certain things like stopping you from travelling, stopping you from getting a driver's licence, holding a bank account, being able to go out to restaurants. Okay, the media, now remember, he's not talking about doing this until, sometime next year, maybe the start, maybe middle of next year. We're only in the middle of August. But he's putting the feelers out. He's putting this out there as an idea just to see how people will react. This is another test. Thankfully, this time, it looks like enough people have woken up and enough people are starting to pass that test, which is fantastic. But, this is the sort of stuff that the media's talking about. This is Coronavirus Australia Deputy CMO Nick Cosworth reveals possible restrictions for refusing vaccine. Australia's Deputy Chief Medical Officer has discussed the possible restrictions for people who refuse to get the COVID-19 vaccine. Nick Cosworth has raised the possibility of restriction for people who refuse to get the vaccine when it's available, if proven successful. Successful against what? They haven't even isolated, this coronavirus yet. There is no gold standard. We've covered this on previous, videos. So what's it going to be successful against exactly? And how about the important word safe? He's only talking about whether it's going to be successful. What about it being safe? Remember, they're rushing this thing through in 6 months rather than 6 years. Is there anybody asking questions about the safety and, most importantly, the long-term safety, the long-term trials? There's no one talking about it at all. He says rules like no jab, no pay, which would restrict government payments, could be brought in to ensure more Australians are immunised against the coronavirus. He mentioned regulations around international interstate travel and even moving within the community would need to be reviewed. Australian pubs and restaurants could also refuse entry to people who refuse to get vaccinated. Mr Morrison said he was open to all options to get as many Australians as possible vaccinated. How about being open to as many options as possible to get every Australian as healthy as possible? Isn't that what we're ultimately trying to achieve? Isn't that what we should ultimately being trying to achieve? Not get every Australian vaccinated. How do we know that that is good for every Australian? What tests have been done? Okay, please be very careful of this deliberately deceptive and misleading language that the media loves to use. Okay, so it's an important point that I want to make, and again I want to remind people, this Quick and Garran Commonwealth Constitution dictates that we are the supreme, absolute, uncontrollable authority within the Commonwealth of Australia. We the people, we are the authority, not Sco Mo, not Daniel Andrews, not any of the other premiers. We the people, and we need to make that clear. Okay, we need to voice our opinion. So, what do I believe that Sco Mo is going to do to try and circumvent that power that we the people have? Okay, I believe that lockdowns essentially are going to continue, and bit by bit they're going to increase in differing forms over the remainder of this year. Now, all the state borders have now essentially been closed. South Australia, I think I reported on this last time, but as of the 21st of August, which is tomorrow, okay, licensed premises, cafes, restaurants and gyms will be required to have a COVID-safe marshal, enforcing the 1 person by 2 square metre rule. I mean, what the hell is that all about? Cross-border communities will no longer have free travel into South Australia. Okay, these are things that are going on right now. One of our members contacted me just today, said, Mike, not sure if you've heard, but in WA, where we've got very few cases at all, they're bringing in these ankle monitoring bracelets, okay, to monitor what? There's no cases, okay? So this is the stuff that's happening right now, okay, under the guise of you know, safety and health and community and all this rubbish. But what they're actually doing is they're going to continue decimating small businesses, forcing people to either work for large corporations, where of course they can control them, okay, or working for the government, where again they can control them, or forcing people onto welfare payments, where again they can control them through the implementation of things like they've already got going, which is the current no jab, no pay legislation. Okay, now at some point, things will slowly but surely start opening up again. Okay, and those people who are go-getters are going to be so desperate to just get out, get back into the workforce, go and open up their businesses again, those that can even open up their business again. They're going to do almost anything they can, whatever the government wants. Yes, you want us to wear a mask. Yes, you want us to wash our hands. Yes, you want us to get a flu jab. Whatever you want, we'll do it, because we just need to get back to some form of a life. And this is the process that they're going to use. Okay, now of course a lot of people will just give up and they'll just go, oh look, what the hell, I'll just stay in the dole, I'm getting paid to do that. Mind you, you'll still have to get your jab, okay, but that's when the real divide and conquer strategy is really going to start. Okay, and we've seen that already with the masks. Now I did actually see some very promising figures from a news.com.au poll, and they asked how many of you would get the vaccine if it became available. And then the next one was how many people believe that it should be mandatory for everyone to get the vaccine when it becomes available. Now, the figures looked promising on the surface, because it was actually 60-40 people said, no, I would not get the vaccine. And it was actually 70-30 that said, no, okay, it should not be made mandatory. However, this looks promising on the surface, but the problem is I saw the same thing happen just a few weeks ago right here in Victoria when they were talking about mandatory masks. Everyone was up in arms and everyone's like, I'm not going to wear a mask. No one can force me to wear a mask. That's ridiculous. I'm not going to do it. Yet what's the reality out there on the streets? 90% of people, whether they said they would or wouldn't, most people are wearing masks. So I really hope that people are honestly, genuinely fired up this time, okay, that they're not just keyboard warriors pressing buttons on a poll or making comments on Facebook. I hope they really have drawn that line in the sand, which I covered on a video a little while ago, and I hope they have honestly, genuinely decided that no, I'm drawing the line here, I will not get vaccinated with this rush through, hurried up vaccine when it becomes available. Okay, so getting back to the masks though, all right, what is it that makes some people who were previously so anti something turn around and then just comply? Well, the majority of people come back, oh, I'm still concerned about getting a fine. Well, we've covered that to death on these videos, and I'll say it again very quickly. If you don't have this book yet, grab it now. Aussie Speeding Fines shows you how to successfully challenge all types of unjust and unlawful fines, including mask fines, quarantine fines, being more than 5 k's from your home fines, all of them. There's a link in the description on the video, just grab it. Now, there's other people that say, oh, but I'm being ostracised, I'm being bullied, people are having a go at me. That's another reason why people are deciding just to wear masks. Another group of people, because their workplace requires it. Okay, they're being told they have to, and they don't have the tools to challenge it. But again, we've given you these tools on previous videos. Please go to our YouTube channel, go to our BitChute channel, go to our Facebook page, and look up the previous videos. We've explained your employer is not an authorised officer under the Act. Okay, they cannot force you to show them your medical exemption if you have one. Okay, they can't do that. That's your private information. Okay, if it's not in your original employment contract, they can't alter that contract and now say you can't work without a mask. Okay, where's the biosecurity order relating to COVID-19? All this stuff's been covered, so please don't get fearful, feel like you've got to wear a mask because you're going to get a fine or you're going to lose your job or anything like that. Learn your rights and stand up for them. Okay? Now, when it comes to these mandatory COVID vaccinations, I can see very similar things happening. Okay, there's going to be a certain percentage of the population, I believe it'll hopefully be fairly small, that's just going to rush out, get the vaccination straight away because they believe the media, they believe their government really genuinely cares about them, okay, and they genuinely, honestly believe that's the right thing for them. Okay, cool, that's fine. Okay, I think the larger population will try and hold out though, at this time around. That's my belief. But the problem is there's going to be people who are desperate, absolutely desperate, like their lives and that of their family depend on it to return to the workforce, and they're going to be forced to do it. Okay, people who want to travel, go and update their driver's license, passport, things like that, and they're going to be told you just can't do it unless you've got proof of your vaccination status. And of course, the media and the government will be telling everyone, listen, it's just a jab. That's all it is. Don't be a conspiracy theorist. Just go and do it. And people will ultimately succumb. Okay? And the reason is because you think if you've lost anything and someone offers you something, if you break up in a relationship and someone comes along that grabs your attention, even though you know they might not be right for you, most people will jump at that opportunity because they're missing what they had. Okay, if you've just lost your job and someone offers you another job at $10 or $20 an hour less than what you had, but you've got no job, you go, look, sure, what the hell, I'll just take it. I'll take anything. I'll do whatever. Okay, and this is how they're going to do this. They're going to say, well, look, you've got no job, you've got no money, so listen, just get the jab and let's all get back to normal. Whatever the hell that is. Okay, now at that point, the majority of the population is probably going to do this. Okay, and that's when the media and the government is then going to turn everything around and they're going to hold those who've been vaccinated against those who choose not to get vaccinated, and they're going to say, these are the people that are holding back the economy, these are the people that are stopping our country from reopening, these are the people you should be angry at, not at us. And this, of course, is exactly what they did when they turned the maskers against the anti-maskers. It's going to be the vaxxers against the anti-vaxxers, okay? The same thing. They're going to pit person against person, and they're going to use that divide and conquer strategy, which is their go-to strategy, okay? And they use so well. Now, there will, of course, be a small minority that will hold out, but that's when the true sanctions will begin. You can't renew your passport. You can't renew your driver's license. You can't get a bank account or keep a key card, okay, without your evidence of vaccination. Okay, you won't be able to travel either interstate or overseas. You won't be able to eat out at a hotel or a restaurant. Okay, you won't be able to stay overnight in a hotel unless you can provide your proof of vaccination. Okay, and people will basically be forced to succumb because otherwise they're just going to have no life whatsoever. Okay, and that I think is a pretty reasonable overview of what's likely to happen over the next 6 to 12 months. Unless we, the people, remember the supreme, absolute, uncontrollable authority in this country, stand up and do something about it. So what can we do? First and foremost, very simple, start asking yourself a few simple questions. And then when you've asked those questions for yourself and answered them, ask others. Okay? Firstly, why do we even need a vaccine for a virus that has a 97% survival rate? Okay? Why do we need a vaccine when 99% of people recover naturally via their immune system? Okay? Why do we need a vaccine for COVID when it's only been around 6 to 12 months, depending on when you're watching this, okay? When we've had a flu vaccine for decades, but hundreds of thousands of people continue dying from the flu each and every year, okay? Why has this vaccine been rushed through in just 6 months when others take years, okay? How do we know it's safe in the long term when there's been no long-term studies done? Okay, how many other vaccines were we told in the past that were safe that turned out not to be? I mean, for crying out loud, doctors used to do ads for cigarettes. Okay, let's not forget the sort of stuff that we've been told before in the past is healthy, and then it turned out it hasn't been. Are you prepared to take that risk? Are you prepared to take that risk for your family without some genuine long-term studies? Okay, now these are really basic, simple, preliminary questions that you should ask and answer for yourself, and then go out and ask others, including, of course, our elected representatives, our members of parliament. Now, when you're ready to go to the next step, please don't wait until the legislation's been brought in. Get active now. These idiots have shot themselves in the foot. Sco Mo didn't even need to say anything about this year. He could have left it till next year and rushed it through like they've rushed through the lockdowns in Victoria. But he needed to gauge how people were going to react. And that's why he said it now, to see what sort of response he's going to get. So now we are in the power position. We don't need to wait until they bring these laws in. We can take action right now and stop them from being brought in. Okay? Don't wait, because I tell you what, if I had $1 for every email, every comment, every message I've received in the last 3 months, where people said, oh geez, I just got your book, and oh my God, I wish I knew about this earlier, or oh, I've just got all this information, it's mind-blowing, I wish I'd taken action earlier. Don't wish. Don't be that person. Take action now, okay? Bombard your members of parliament, okay, with the My Will letter that's in this book, okay? It's bonus chapter 1. I've referred to it in previous videos as chapter 9. It's the same thing. There's 8 standard chapters. The 9th chapter is bonus chapter 1. Okay, there it is, page 73 of our book. Okay, and I think it's page 75 is the actual My Will letter. Okay, copy of the letter. You can download it here. There it is on page 75. Okay, of course, it comes in the CD that comes with this book. All right, send those letters off. Now, of course, you're going to edit them slightly, okay, to say, oh, I've heard that you're considering enacting legislation to, It's my will that you do not enact any such legislation, or if you do, that it is not mandatory, it is voluntary, that we get to choose what we put in our body. Because again, after all, if this vaccine is going to be so good and so wonderful, shouldn't everybody want it? Why would they have to impose sanctions? Okay? It makes no sense. Now, once you've got your head around that, once you've started taking action on that, please read this chapter. It is so vitally important. Okay? Here are the reasons why they're in breach of legislation. Okay? Here is the case where Justice Latham talks about them not being able to lawfully create any form of civil conscription, i.e., in order to get this, you must do this. Okay, here are the actual cases. Okay, and then it goes further. We've got an entire chapter, bonus chapter 3, all on court cases. There's really powerful court cases that back this stuff up. Okay, we don't make this stuff up. Okay, we go to the law, we go to the legislation, we go to the sections of legislation, we go to the Commonwealth Constitution, we go to the cases where the courts have ruled this. Now, speaking of courts ruling this, this has just come out. New Zealand's first lockdown ruled unlawful by country's High Court. Just came out. It says, New Zealand's High Court has ruled that the country's first 9-day COVID-19 lockdown from March 26th to April 3rd was unlawful as it infringed on people's rights and freedoms without a legal basis. The High Court of New Zealand ruled on Wednesday that the country's stay-at-home orders under threat of punishment were in breach of civil liberties after lawyer Andrew Borrowdale launched a suit against the government in July. The panels added that the initial lockdown curtailed certain rights and freedoms affirmed by the New Zealand Bill of Rights Act 1990, including but not limited to freedom of movement, peaceful assembly and association. So, you can also write to our members of parliament and include a copy of that article and say, please, Mr. Andrews, Please, Mr. or Mrs. Other Premier, can you explain to me your justification for locking down the state, closing the borders, given what the New Zealand High Court has just ruled? Where is your evidence? Where is the substance for your directives? Okay, these are all steps that you can take right now. Please don't wait. Okay, don't wait for a third or fourth wave. Don't wait for a third, level of lockdown or restriction. Okay, do this now. Okay, do this now. People still seemingly blindly believe that their government can do no wrong. Anyone who suggests otherwise is a tinfoil hat wearing conspiracy theorist. Okay, and yet the courts themselves have backed up everything that we teach you on these videos. Okay, so as we embark on yet another weekend where there are stronger, tighter restrictions in every single state around the country, I urge you all, do not leave it another day. Okay, please, as always, use this time wisely. Grab these books. The links are in the description there. You can get all 3 books together and save on postage. We've got other packs, but whatever you do, get informed, learn about your rights, get fired up, and get proactive. Thank you all. I'll talk to you again very soon.